Honey, where are my pants?
Studs! Welcome, let me type out an intro. That's probably gonna make it into the episode.
Yeah, you definitely should.
Welcome to Where Are My Studs, the podcast where we're super positive about modern Lego. I'm Brendan.
And I'm Aidan.
Firstly, I want to apologize for anyone that tried to listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts last week. There was some technical difficulties that drove me insane, but they're all good now. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, and hopefully you are, because it's objectively the best podcast site to listen to.
Fully agreed.
So first, we're just going to introduce a little, I don't want to call it a segment because that's kind of stupid, but me and Aidan just want to always take the first little bit of the podcast each week to talk about whatever's going on in our life, Lego, or sometimes not even Lego related. So Aidan, what's been happening with you since the last time we talked?
Well, I'll start off with the Lego first. I have been sorting parts the entire week, which is super entertaining to talk about and do, as many know. But I've been doing it because this summer I'm trying to put together like every set that I had as a kid, and that has resulted in like many hours going through and finding parts, and I'm getting sick of it. So I went through and sorted my collection down more. But honestly, like it's been awesome. Like, and it's like anytime I do it and I get all the pieces together, it feels like I'm essentially building a free set, which is nice. So it's actually the reason I haven't bought any Lego this summer. So I've just been going through and building up Star Wars sets, and then yeah, not much in life, just work, same old day every day. But yeah.
You talk about doing the like piecing back together old sets that you had as a kid, and I could never. I don't have the patience. Okay, so in my room, or in my closet actually, I have two bins. One of the bins I label as the bin of doom because it's where Lego pieces go to die and never be found again. It's this giant tub of just pieces. I don't know if you've ever seen it when you came over, but like, because it's hidden in a dark corner. But I recently went into it because I had to find a piece, and luckily I found it really quick. But like, I cannot imagine going through that giant tub and trying to sort all the sets I had as a kid. And it's occurred to me to try, because like I had a lot of sets I'd love to rebuild, like the Wampus Cave or General Grievous Starfighter, the Pirates of the Caribbean set. I don't remember what it's called. It's
Which
the one
one?
from the first film.
Oh yeah, okay, that one. I you remember I bought that at Brick World sealed last year. It's been like,
You did?
yeah.
You didn't?
You remember?
What is it called? What's it called?
I literally have the box
Isla-
in another room.
Is it like Isla de Murder?
Yeah,
or
something like that. And it has Hector Barbosa, both him normal and as a skeleton, and then Jack Sparrow, and you can flip his face around and then he becomes a skeleton. And then it has Elizabeth Swan and Will Turner. But the thing is, like, that set sucks outside of the minifigures. Like I spent $120 and then I built it that night, and it took me I think 15 minutes to build the entire set, and I was like, that was kind of the moment I was like, I need to really start thinking about what I buy sealed versus what I don't, because it did not feel worth it at all. And that was probably like one of my most regretful purchases in the last like year and a half. So
you're talking about sealed sets, like retired sealed sets. I used to be so anti getting old sets sealed.
mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't care. That completely changed when I got to 2006 Batcave. I got hooked on it like a drug. I love getting old sets sealed now.
I mean, yeah, like it's definitely a better experience, but like for you, what makes it like justifiable to you to buy it sealed versus used?
So when I get a set, like let's pretend I got a set opened and it's missing a piece, hopefully I have that piece. And if I do, it's all good. But I hate having to search for it. And I kind of got sick and tired of that. And getting this sealed set, there's just something so cool about opening it and being the only person to ever own this product of like the specific one you're holding. I don't know. It's a cool thing. It's cool to get it all mint. And I definitely still get sets open, but I typically get them only from like third-party Lego stores, like so Atlanta BrickCon Bricks and Minifigs, where I have a bit of a reassurance that everything will be there.
Yeah, I think for me that's the biggest appeal of sealed sets is knowing everything is gonna be there, but also like stickers. Like if a set has a ton of stickers,
Oh yeah.
like and getting that used, and especially if it's like kid who decided to apply all of them at a 45-degree angle, like that's like I'm almost willing to pay more than like a used set's value if the stickers are really well done, because then you're getting like a top quality. I'm curious what you think about this. So there's a lot of people who like one of the reasons they won't buy used sets is because of minifigures having like swing marks on the arm or cracks in the torso. Do you personally care about that in your minifigures?
Yeah. I a crack in the torso would bother me. And well, I mean, I guess it depends. Like if it's a random Indiana Jones figure, I have every single one they've made. If one has a crack in it, I'm not going to kill myself over it. But if it's like more of an exclusive figure that only came to that set, like, you know, I don't know, a Grand Moff Tarkin from like one of the old Star Wars sets, that would bother me because I don't know, it's a damaged figure. I don't like damaged Lego.
Yeah, I've never cared about swing marks in the arms. Also, another thing I honestly like I've realized I don't really care about is like hairline cracks on the back of legs. Like if it's like when are you looking at the back of the legs of the fig? And there's some people who will freak out about that, and I mean understandable, it's not top quality, but I don't know, like you just don't see it. And like if my Cloud
Back of
City
the
Boba
legs.
Fett had it, I'd be a little upset. I'm not talking like where it's split the entire way through, like where there's just like a little dent in it.
You're talking about like a hairline. No,
Or-
back of the legs doesn't bother me.
Mhm.
It's mainly cracks in the arms or the torso. That bugs me. But luckily, it hasn't happened much to me. All right, but the actual main topic of today's episode is going to be army building and what's the point of it. So we have a few things that we want to discuss with it, and be rest assured it's not all Star Wars based. But we both took some notes and thought to ourselves about why people do it, and is it? You can't say good because it's not an objective question
Yeah.
like that. But I guess what's the point of it? I mean that's really where it comes down to, and like why do people do it?
So I know you have honestly probably a more negative view on this than me. So I actually would like to hear your opinion on it first, Brendan, before I go ahead and share mine.
I don't want to waste all my talking points. All right. Well, like my broad opinions on army building are I liked it a lot as a kid. And I was a kid, early 2010s, and that was cool. Clone Wars was on. All the Lego stop motions with giant droids versus clones were cool, and like, when you're playing out battles, the more troops the better, the more large scale you can get. But as I've gotten older, it really started melting away within the past few years. I kind of just don't understand it as much. If you're an adult, this is what army building typically entails. You buy a ton of one set, you sell off the actual build, then you just have all these clones or whatever in bags, plastic bags, and then once a year you bring them all out, take a video of it, go, wow, look at all my clones, droids, Yurikai, whatever. And then you put them back in bags, and then you do it again the next year. And a lot of people don't even like show off the other things they have for their army. And by that I mean like a lot of people when they do a clone army just show off clones. They don't even show off all the vehicles they have or all the other Republic based people they have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that always bugs me because I'm more of a set guy anyways, but like I want to see all like how many ATTEs do you have and stuff if I'm even going to watch that type of video. I also think though want to point out if you're using your army for play, for stop motions, for mock, totally different. Totally understand. That's a completely different ball game. But if we're just saying to army build just to have a large amount of troops, I don't necessarily get it unless you're a kid, personally.
Yeah, so you mentioned one thing that's really like I don't have as much of a problem with army building as you, but the one thing that I really cannot stand is just the idea of just keeping all of the figs in bags all the time. Like if you're gonna army build and you're gonna have that thing out for everybody to see, like on display in your room or something, that's I think that's a much better use because it's still at least being seen. But the armies that aren't even seen is just wild to me. Like spending that much money on troops just to put them in plastic bags and shove them away. I don't really see the appeal on that because it's just like spending a ton of money to have things you're never really looking at even. Like we talk about using your Lego a lot. You're not even looking at that Lego. But I do think that there is a way to do army building that's a lot more unique and can bring like a lot more like creativity to your army event. You touched on it with the just even like having sets and it not being because what I've seen a lot recently with the new Clone Trooper Battle Pack is just rows and rows and base plates of the white clones, the phase 2 clones.
Yeah.
And like when I look at it, my eyes can't even like focus on a single minifig to like figure out what it even is. It just looks like a giant blob of white to me. And that's not just very, very interesting to me.
To like a certain extent, it's still cool. It's like, oh my god, look at all the troops.
Yeah.
It's like a real clone army. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But again, as an adult, I'm just kind of like, yeah, but why?
Mm-hmm.
You're not using these. Like, and also, this is something I wanted to touch on. You do it and you have 100 501st troops. Okay. All right. That's a ton. That's a ton. But okay.
Yeah.
But then you get these people, and there's nothing wrong with them. You can use Lego however you like. I'm just criticizing.
Oh my gosh.
But when you have 1,000 clones, it's like, why?
You will never use
why
that
do you
many.
have 1,000 clones? What's the point? It's just a flex almost.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's
like
what
it feels like a competition.
yeah, that's what we've seen. I think with short form content is like we've talked about a lot of people just flexing their collection, and like that's what Reels really is nowadays. It's either funny stop motions or flexing your collection. And I'd like just look at the comments, and they're all the same on every single video. Like every single one I look at, it's the 200,000 units with a million more in their way is like the top comment on every single one.
Oh my god!
And it's just so funny to me how like copy paste every one of those reels is. And I think to somebody who's not into Lego, it's honestly probably more interesting because you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know people had this many minifigures. I also think it's something to be a lot cooler to see in person. But just seeing it online and like not getting that sense of like depth and scale that you would in person, I feel like is honestly like not even doing it justice, you know?
Can I say something? Can I say something that's a harsh reality?
When do you not?
I'm guilty of even liking when I see those videos though.
Mm-hmm.
I still like to see it. Like I don't understand it. I think it's kind of silly. But damn, when you see 1,000 clones in Lego, you're like, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, like, my other half of my brain is kind of like, that's stupid. Part of me still has that, like, childhood, like, part of me that still is like, that's awesome. I would have loved to have that many clones. And I want to point out, I 100% was an army builder. But the difference is back then I also like to play with my clones and my droids. And I also want to get into that. One of my biggest pet peeves with army building is when people only army build one faction. So they'll have, I hate to keep using clones, but it's the easiest example.
Yeah,
Let's be
I
honest.
mean it's the most common.
They'll
too.
have 1,000 clone troopers and 10 battle droids. Like I don't know that. I get it. They don't play with their Lego, but like my logical sense is just like that's so goofy. Like
Yeah. So you know what I think you would love, considering all of your concerns. Castle army building. Whenever I look at castle army builders,
I've seen some.
like Shy Time is My Time has a whole series on it where he built his Black Falcon army, and like they're making up lore for their armies. They have like, here's the bow and arrow section, archers, I guess. Here's the like, okay, I don't really know castle terms super well, so bear with me for a second here. But like the ones who like have the like battering ram to knock down the castle wall, just like normal knights. And then they have a leader, and they always build opposing factions. Like I know, as far as Shy Time's My Time, his army, he built up an orc faction and like had Vikings with them and had a whole lore about how like the Viking leader.
That's cooler.
Like
though.
yeah, like that. And then he also talks about using it.
That's cooler though. I like that. That has like there's like different there's legitimate like there's different parts of the army for different purposes, and it like there's more thought behind it. It's more thought provoking. Whereas in my mind, when I think of the generic army building, I'm thinking 10,000 Lego clone troopers and that's it. No vehicles. It's just a bunch of figures lined up on a base plate. And to a certain extent, I'm just like, oh, it's all the same figure.
And the thing is, that's actually not accurate to the Star Wars universe. So in those sets, Lego released a like the normal Phase 1 White Troopers, but they also released a green Clone Sergeant in the battle pack. They released the red Clone Captain in the gunship, which is like a $70 figure now. It's crazy. And then they released the yellow Clone Commander in the ATTE, and they released the blue Clone Lieutenant in a polybag, and then also in a Hellfire droid the next year. And the thing is,
that sucked, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's absolute garbage, but the figure's sick. The way that the clone army is set up is that each sergeant commands a group of 9. I think that's including himself. And then each lieutenant commands a group of 36. And then each captain, I think it's 60. It might be more. And then the commander commands all of that. So like to see like even a clone army set up like that, I think would be cool, because there would be some sort of like form and unity to that. And then you can go even more in depth now with like, especially when you get to Phase 2 and you have like the 501st, like if people would have like, here's the section of snipers, here's the heavy unit. That's why I actually like the new 501st battle pack, because it does bring a lot of different factions almost to, I don't even know if that's the right word. Factions is definitely not the right word, but a lot of different like sections to an army, instead of just being like, here is all of these white clone troopers.
So something interesting about army building, specifically clone army building. I feel like generic army building for other stuff, such as like Lord of the Rings or Castle, I feel like that's a more recent thing that's kind of popped off of army building other themes. But at least for Star Wars, if you look back at the history of it, I think it's blatantly obvious who popped off that genre in the early 2010s, which is David Hall.
And Chris Productions.
No, I'm talking about early. I'm talking about like 2009.
Oh, I was watching back
2010,
then. Yeah.
2011. David Hall's army clone armies were insane. They were huge deals. And then I feel like clone armies kind of dipped around like 2013 and 2014. They weren't quite as big of a deal, and then they popped back up in the later 2010s. And then they went back down, and then with the 501st Battle Pack, it exploded again. And I was curious. I wanted to talk about, how do you think army building has affected the actual, or do you even think it's affected at all, the actual product that Lego sells? Do you think army building has had any effect on how they make a set, how many figures they include, yada, yada, yada?
I mean, I think they realize how much profit there is. Like, you look at the fact that they made the 501st Battle Pack a $30 battle pack instead of a $20, because they knew that thing was going to sell like crazy. And people bought it like insanely still at the full retail price, like not even just waiting for clearance. So I think that has changed. And I don't really know what else besides that is changing. Because it still feels pretty similar to me, and we're still getting like, actually, one thing that they've stopped really doing is battle packs for characters that don't need battle packs. Like, you remember that Bounty Hunter battle pack?
That's a great battle pack.
Like, it's a good set. It's not a good battle pack. Like, you're not gonna build an army of Dengars. Like, who's gonna want that? And then there's that Jawa battle pack.
I also like that battle pack.
Okay, well, you're looking at the sets, I think. Like, as battle packs, they're not great battle packs, you know?
I guess, but it's the debate. Does a battle pack have to be an army builder?
I mean, that's almost the point of a battle pack, I feel like. Like, in the name, like, when I think of a battle pack, like, I'm not thinking I'm going to have Jawas versus astromech droids.
No, but, like, who said, like, I mean, I guess in my mind, yes, I definitely prefer when battle packs are army builders, but I don't mind every once in a while us getting one. Here's an example of one that sucks. The Jedi and Clone Trooper battle pack. I don't like that because it mixes the two. You shouldn't mix the two.
Well, also,
I think if you just have the Bounty Hunter battle pack, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Like it's there's nothing in there that you would want to army build, so you buy one and it's cool.
yeah.
But I don't like when they mix in something that you do want to army build and then two other figures that you can't. That's where I start having an issue with it.
I just think it's a wasted space for a good battle pack when you have like named characters in there, like the $15 Clone Trooper Command Station and the Defense Line Hoth a few years ago. Like that's where the Bounty Hunter battle pack should be. That's where the Jedi battle pack should be, because those are one exclusive to Lego stores, to my knowledge. Like you're not finding those at like Target, and then like two, like you're basically buying those for the figures. It's not going to be an extensive build because you literally can't fit one in there. And that's why, like, with what they're doing with mechs now, where they're like, it's a cheap way to get figures. Like, okay, just put the figures in one of those. I don't know why they stopped doing those for Star Wars. I don't know why they put battle packs in those essentially. But I think that would be a great way to do it.
It's crazy because it's almost like battle packs aren't even a thing anymore. Well, they are. Okay, so I guess we can kind of talk about this. What are your opinions about the 501st Battle Pack / the brand new Clone versus Droid Battle Pack? What do you think of those sets? $30.
Honestly, the Clone versus Droids is way better. Especially for kids. Like the 501st Battle Pack, the Bark Speeder is fine. The oh shoot, it's not an ATSD. I literally know this. The Clone Walker, whatever the official name is, that's fine. But ATRT, yep, thank you. But they're fighting two battle droids. Like you have 4 clone troopers and 2 clone vehicles fighting 2 battle droids for $30, whereas versus in the new pack, you're getting 4 clone troopers with helmet holes, which is better for kids. Adults can think whatever they want, but objectively,
you want to get into helmet holes?
We'll get there eventually. It's gonna happen if we're gonna talk about clone arm building. But actually, we'll go ahead and save it for the question at the end. But objectively, helmet holes are better for kids. Like that's just like as a kid, I was actually like kind of upset that I couldn't put a rangefinder in Phase 2 Rex if I got him, and I think it's one of the reasons I didn't get him, because it just didn't look like Captain Rex to me. But also, you get 5 battle droids, you get 4 clone troopers, you get 2 clone builds, and you get 2 battle droid builds with the Stap and the oh my gosh, I know this. The homing spider droid basically is what it is, but it's not. It's like it's
a tri-droid.
Yeah, it's like the distant cousin of the spider droid, but. Like that for $30 when you break it down like that is such a better deal than the 501st Battle Pack, and I think honestly you would see it sell even better than the 501st Battle Pack if one, it didn't have helmet holes, because that is turned off I'd say about 30% of Star Wars collectors from even like wanting to army build it, and then 2, if it was a more popular Legion, like if you threw in like the 212 or like I think you'd see that sell even better. But I think it is a better set when you look at it, especially.
So one thing I want to point out, I think the newest battle pack, that the Clone versus Droids battle pack, I think that set is a living proof that while yes, I have nostalgia for old Lego Star Wars, and I think it proves that if they made sets like they used to back in the day, I would like the new sets, because the newest battle pack literally is the 2007 battle packs put into one. And I love the newest set. I love it to death. I love the fact that you get one of the red clones, 2 normals, you get 3 normal clones, right?
Yeah, 3 normals and then 1 of the red clones, which I think is a perfect balance.
I would actually prefer if one of the white Phase 2 clones was a different Legion, ironically. I think it would be fun to have more
fair.
diversity.
That's fair.
But the fact that you get 5 droids in total is such an incredible move, because as a kid, you always want your bad guys to outnumber your good guys. And in the Star Wars universe, the clones are always outnumbered.
Yep.
So I think that's so good, because if you're playing a battle, and this is a whole entire another thing, is the fact that you buy that set for a kid, that's fun for hours. You have 2 big factions, you have tons of characters, you have a good amount of vehicles. There is so much playability with that one $30 set. Like, this is what I want more of from Lego across the board, is incredible, fun, small Lego sets that are cheap. But I just love that I also love that the Super Battle Droids returned. They're my favorite droid figures.
I mean, they're even better now too. But you touched on it. Like, that set is so affordable too. Like, everybody's like, Lego's overpriced, but if you readjust it, I actually did it. So in 2024, $30. So $30 in 2024 would be $19.81 in 2007. And the first 2 battle packs were $10 each. So it's literally the same exact price, and you're actually getting one more figure than you got in the sets that they're basically pulling from. So
what's the one more figure?
It's 3 Super Battle Droids, right? Because I thought you only got 2.
No.
Oh wait, really?
In the original 2007 battle pack, you got 7 droids.
Oh dang. Okay, never mind. It's 2 less figures, but
the
point
trade-off
stands.
is you get a stat
Yeah, the point stands.
and a tri-droid.
Yeah, it's still pretty affordable. Like, and it's a set that a kid can put on their Christmas list and get multiples of, and they don't have to go and return it to Target, which is actually something that parents probably care about. And then also, we talking about making clones cheap. As a kid, I would have loved to buy this battle pack and then go buy the Captain Rex's Y-Wing, and I have Captain Rex leading clone troopers against 5 battle droids for essentially like $43. Like, that is, I actually really like what Lego is doing with clone troopers and making them accessible for kids. Like, they're not hiding them. Like, as a kid, Cody was in the Republic gunship, and then Rex was in the ATTE. So I didn't have Cody or Rex growing up. So we actually had to buy minifigures or keychains from the Lego store, and we'd take the keychains out, and I just have like a Rex and a Cody with a hole in it until they released the Geonosis sets. And I actually went out and bought one of those, and I just got a normal Cody for like $20 or $30. And I think as a kid, like, I would have much preferred to just have the actual figure instead of dealing with their legs being stuck together and all that junk. So
I'm curious to ask you this, because when I was a kid, I owned, for Christmas, I got the ATTE, the 2008 one. So I had Captain Rex. Actually, fun fact, basically how it worked is 2009. I did a whole entire Christmas video on my channel if you want to see all these pictures, but I got a ton of Clone Wars sets. But ironically enough, they were all droid sets, and I had barely any clone sets. So I had returned a few of like the city sets other people got me, and I had enough money to basically either buy the gunship or ATTE. The only reason I chose the ATTE was, I think, A, for Ahsoka, but B, because it had Captain Rex, and Captain Rex has always been cooler than Cody. Just a little story. But as a kid, I didn't mind that they were inexpensive sets. Because when you got them, it felt so much more rewarding, and it was like your most special figure. And I'm not saying this is not going to get into like, should have Rex been exclusive to the Venator, because he shouldn't have been. But like, I liked that the clones were exclusive to those sets. I thought it was cool, and I'm happy that it came out later, so kids that can't afford a freaking $100 Lego set can get them. But I just remember when I was a kid, I actually enjoyed the exclusivity of it. I thought it was cool. Also, like, when you got Rex, it was like, whoa, I got Captain Rex.
Keep in mind that you enjoyed the exclusivity of it because you actually owned it. Like,
sure, yeah,
like that's one of the reasons you feel that way. Like, I did not have the money to fork over for an ATTE or a gunship as a kid. No matter, like, I still want that gunship so bad. That's my number one most wanted
I
set.
do
too. But yeah, like, when you have it, yeah, it's better. And we see that with the Phase 2 Cody right now. Like, that's in a $100 set, and there's probably a kid out there who really wants Cody, but does not have $100 that little Timmy made from his lemonade stand.
140.
Well, it's on sale at Walmart, like, everywhere for 110 right now. So that's the price I'm going with. But yeah, when it came out, it was 140. Like, I think there is something to be said about it being kind of exclusive. And that's what adult collectors really care about right now. But also, like, I don't know, like, as a kid, I wanted Captain Rex so bad. He's my favorite character. And, like, if this Microfighter would have been out when I was a little kid, it would have been, like, one of the best things ever because I can do dishes for 2 weeks and chores around my house, and then I can go out and actually get it. So we've strayed a little off the beaten path of army building, so I wanted to bring it back around and ask you, Brendan, if you yourself own any armies, and if so, what are they of, and how many do you have of them, so we can see if you're being hypocritical here or not.
Newsflash: we're definitely going to eventually be hypocritical in this podcast.
Oh, I think it's already happened, but
so, I'm gonna assume you're asking intentional armies. Like, I've bought more of them than I need, basically.
I mean, just anything like, let's say you have 12 Donald Duck minifigures. That's kind of an army to some people.
Well, I guess just by the way I collect, since I've bought every Indiana Jones set, I do own the militaries that are in those sets, which will not be named. My biggest my biggest hypocrisy is I definitely have a droid army, and I love it. I love having a droid army. I love droids. I love the Separatist. So sets that contain a lot of them appeal to me. I don't know exactly how many droids I have, but I know it's well over probably like 45.
I was expecting a much bigger number when you were hyping him up that much.
No, and I have a clone army, but I'm honestly planning on selling most of my 501st and clones just because I don't want them, and I'll keep, a few definitely, but I would rather trade them in and just buy some cool old Lego set, to be honest with you.
How many 501st battle packs did you buy back when they were out, and that was the craze? Oh, okay, that's more than I expected. And how do you feel about it now?
I don't know if I regret it. I enjoyed it at the time. So Aidan, me and you talked about this before we started, like, the actual podcast as an idea. I think, did I text you a picture of my clone army?
I think
the other day. I feel like I did. So what happened is the other day, whenever I get bored, I'll just stare at my Lego sets like a freak. And I poured out all my Star Wars figures and was just like, how many clones do I have? And I put them all on a base plate and was like, oh. And it did nothing for me. Like, seeing all my clones on one plate, and I felt nothing. I was like, what's the point of this? Like, I should sell these and get a cool Lego set.
Well, also, let's take this into account. I'm seeing, like I have the photo pulled up. The only one that you have more than 4 of is the 501st.
Yeah, but 4 is a lot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, to some. Not to me, but to some.
I guess. I mean, maybe I wasn't as much of an army builder as I thought. Like, an army building to me is like having like 50 clones in total.
Oh, wow. Okay. To me, I don't know, army. It's an
army. All right. Like, let's hear it from you.
So like, I did the math before this podcast, and I have me and my brother, all of our collection is together, which is gonna be a pain in the butt when we both move out, but that's a problem for later. But between the two of us, we have 100 clone troopers. But the thing is, I have 50 of them on display with sets or like in collections right now. So I went and did the same thing. I went and put all of them on a base plate, and it made me realize that like there are certain ones that I actually do think would be cool to army build, and ones that I don't think they would be cool to army build. Like, if somebody showed me 100 bomb squad troopers, I would be like, oh, okay, those are like $2 each because nobody wants those. But I've actually kind of come around to one of our friends, Caleb, or as he's known online as Blackwell Bricks. What he does is he tries to collect 16 of each type of trooper, and then he actually puts them in like a minifig case and puts them on display. And I actually really cool. like that. And I think I might start doing something similar to that. Not like collecting every legion, because I don't get that kind of coin. But I do think it'd be cool to like of the legions that I like have like a display case of like 16 of them um with a commander out in front that matches the legion. Like to me, like an army is way cooler if you have like a Jedi in front of it who's leading it and a commander.
Yeah.
Like when it's just a ton of clones that are out on a base plate, like I want to see a little more creativity. Like I want to see you like I already kind of talked about this, but like have like a heavy part of the squad and like have snipers, have artillery, like pilots, like have like different sections of it, have different people leading different sections, and then it's a lot more interesting. And like I said, castle builders do that all the time. And also, one thing that I want to talk about actually is I've noticed with clone armies, nobody will like modify their clones. Like it's
What do you mean?
So when I was a kid, I wanted a ton of 501st clones because I loved Captain Rex. So I would take off like the white arms and I put on the blue arms, and to me that was like 501st clones. But like nobody will do anything like that. Nobody will go out and like try to like buy like separate parts, like different guns to like have like a heavy unit. Like if Lego provides them that, then they'll do that, like we saw with the 501st Specialist Battle Pack. But if you look at castle army builders, and this is why actually like I find castle army building like castle army building is so cool to me. Like they'll go out and they'll buy like a ton of elephants, and then they'll go ahead and turn those into like battering rams essentially, and then they'll put like spikes on them, and then they'll like have a unit of elephants in the back, and then they'll also like go ahead and like each castle army I've seen is not like taking a figure from sets and then just put it straight on base plates. Like they are modding those figs. I've seen an orc army where they used like goblin parts from Lord of the Rings, and they also used the orc CMF, and they used the old orc. Like there's just a lot more personality to those armies, and that's something I'd actually like to see in Star Wars armies more. Like give your clones more personalities. Like I'm rewatching the Clone Wars right now. Clone Troopers are so much more interesting when like they're not just a piece of white. Like give them a little something, a little personality, give them a role to play, and then suddenly it's a lot more interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I did just think of one army I technically have, but it's not. I have built a little army of Spartans from the game Halo. So I actually have probably around like 15 in total.
And those are all custom, right?
They are all custom.
Yeah, because Lego, I don't know, maybe Lego would make Halo now, but Halo's also kind of dead now. So
I think they would. All right.
I don't know, man. Last game I played was Reach, and nothing has really done it for me since then.
I feel like throughout this podcast, honestly, I've been turned around slightly bit more to army building.
Yeah.
I think what I don't like, like breaking it down, what I don't like is I'm sick and tired of seeing the same exact army for every single person, which is just, here's my 501st, here's my normal white clones. I'm just sick and tired of seeing that. That's like with the castle armies. I just also think though, do it in moderation. Having 1,000 of a certain army is just, it's like, come on, man. No one needs that much. You're not going to use that for a mock. Like, I think there's limits. Having 200, that's one thing. Having 1,000, or God forbid 5,000 or more, it's like, dude, get out of here. That's way too many.
It's a lot of money too.
Do you think anyone army builds Harry Potter?
That would actually be so funny to me. I would actually love to see
like
that.
What would they army build? Just Hermione? Like
Death Eaters, even though there's like 5 of them. I actually don't know what you would army build from Harry Potter. Well, also have you noticed
Eaters.
Harry Potter is like actually one of the most like affordable themes to collect. Like all of the figures are like $5 on Bricklink, maybe 8. Like I know a lot of people that say, "Oh, I'm gonna collect every Harry Potter fig." I'm like, that's the equivalent of saying, "Oh, I'm gonna collect every clone trooper," and honestly, every clone trooper is probably more expensive than every Harry Potter fig. So I don't really see Harry Potter fans even having like the same figure obsession that Star Wars and like Lord of the Rings and them do, because you buy a Harry Potter and you're like, okay, got him. You buy a Hermione, you got him. Like, I think just with well, what?
Well, that's the benefit of liking a theme that doesn't typically have like armies in it.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars could never, because part of the major parts of that film is the entire Empire or the Rebels or the whatever. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So,
Like Harry Potter. Oh, like the only thing in my opinion you could army build is Death Eaters, which are like, I don't know if you know this, but like they're Voldemort's like buddies.
I mean, yeah, I've seen the films. I'm cultured.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, come on.
I feel like I really enjoy seeing army builders that army build more than the First Order, clones, or Empire. Like if I see a rebel army, that's always cool because all the rebel figures are like so different from each other.
Yep.
Like you have so many different rebels, and like that's always cool. And also, again, I can't stress this enough. I love when I watch an army building video when the armies actually have a castle with it,
Yep.
or vehicles with it, or stuff that's not just the figures. It's so much more fun to see your entire. I love full collection videos. That's something I love.
Yeah.
Like I love seeing people's entire collections or people's displays. Like this is such a random thing, but like I love Lego room tours because
too.
it's so interesting to see how other people display. We should really do one ourselves.
Yeah.
But I love seeing how different people display their Lego. It's one of my favorite things because it's just like everyone's so different until they're not, and they all have white IKEA shelves.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I like seeing, because this is another way of like seeing like, okay, how do you use your Lego collection? How are you putting this together? And you can see a lot of creativity in that even. And then like what you said about the castle and vehicles is it gives context to the army too. And it can even give it more scale sometimes. Like it's showing, it also is like, oh, I could see why you would need that many knights to defend a kingdom like that if you want to go that far. Like, or I can see why you have that many clones in like this spot. Like when it's all on a gray base plate, it's like, oh, that's all of the figures you have. What do you have beyond that? What did you do to make this your own? Besides just taking the figure parts out of the bag, selling off everything else, and putting them on a base plate. Like, I don't know, like, just do something to make it your own. Like, make your army unique. Like what I talked about with like customize clones more. Like, we need to go back, not back to the era of sharpening clones that can die in the past, but
can I ask you, did you ever Sharpie any clones?
So I was so terrified of doing it wrong that I had my mom do it for me, and
Oh, that's cute.
yeah, I have like 3 of them, and then I was like looking at them and I was like, I'm just gonna give these to her. I don't know what I'm gonna do with these. So she just has them chilling, I think, in her like her bathroom or something. So it's kind of hype. But I never did. But did you?
So in like 2011, I took 3 normal white Phase 1 Clone Wars clones. I took fingernail clippers and I clipped off the fin, and then I Sharpied them so they looked like Clone Commandos. And I gotta say, as a kid, those were awesome.
Oh yeah, like
I don't even regret it.
like that's how
That's the
Lego
joy of
should
being
be
a kid,
played with.
man.
Yeah, like honestly, like we kind of need to sometimes remember like the fun of just treating it like a toy and not a super highly collectible
like,
item. Like we need to just remember that sometimes.
Yeah, like making custom characters and like using them in universe was always so much fun, right? Like, did you ever do that?
Yeah. So I would like take parts from different clone troopers and like make my own commanders and like come up with lore for them. Like do you see all those like memes and reels about like my favorite Lego character about to like just fight off like thousands of battle droids in my head? Like that was the fun of Lego as a kid, and I would like to see that brought back, like not in like a 1-to-1. All right, everybody start sharpening your Captain Rexes. Like come up with your own clones, come up with your own lore. Like one of the things I like about clones for army building is it's so malleable. Like there is so much you can do with that. Whereas like stormtroopers, it's like yeah, there really wasn't much creativity in their ranks to begin with. But clones, like you put cyan arms on your clone troopers, you put a cloth waist cape on one, you give them a rangefinder, and that's your captain. You come up with name, make a custom Jedi. Like that is cool army building to me, because like you got your own lore and stuff, you know.
Well, to bring it back around to army building, I guess like, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but my opinion honestly has changed over the past hour that we've been talking.
That's good.
I actually don't hate army building. What I hate is more specific. I hate when army building is just the same as what everyone else is doing. If you make army building something unique and in moderation, I will include that. If you army build too much, I think it's just wasteful, but I think it can be a cool thing. It can be a really cool thing.
Also, if you army build, don't just stick your figures in bags in a bin. That's what I'm gonna add on to that. Like I agree with what you say, and like I've already said it probably too many times this episode, but like personalize it. Like castle builders.
You said that last episode too.
Yeah, I mean like that's my thing with Lego. Like I want to see your creativity. I want to see your personality shine through. I want to see who you are in your builds. Like I think that's super cool to see. And like what's you like what do you have to bring to the table? And like everybody might just look around and be like, oh, I don't have those building skills. Like you're a creative human being. You have something you could bring to the table, and that's what I would love to see from you. So you want to go ahead and end with our listener question for the episode?
Each week for the podcast, we will answer someone's question that either got sent to us through our story on Where Are My Studs on Instagram, or you can DM it to Where Are My Studs. You could leave it as a comment on the YouTube post. Just send it to us directly, and you have the chance to get it answered. So this week's question comes from 10 Under 10, and he asked, has the Lego clone craze from 2020 and onwards become too much?
So I think you can look at this from two points of view. It's has it become too much in the Lego community, or has it become too much in terms of what Lego's putting out? And I think in terms of what Lego's putting out, I think it's actually a fine amount. Like we're getting about what we were getting when the Clone Wars was popular. Like we got 5s in the set. We've gotten 4 battle packs across 3 years. Like I think that's pretty fine. And we're still getting like Lego still loves the original trilogy more than the prequels. We're still getting way more of those sets. The only thing that I'd say as far as like Lego's output goes is I want prequel sets that aren't just clone sets. Like, that is all we have got the last 4 years minus the Obi-Wan Starfighter. And, like, it took a Phantom Menace anniversary to get... Did we just get one playset from Phantom Menace? Is that all? Yeah, to get one playset. So...
Wait, what was the playset?
It was the, Darth Maul's ship. I'm forgetting the name. Sith Infiltrator. Yep. And... $70 for that is kind of insane, but
the set doesn't look good.
Nope. But yeah, that's as far as like Lego's output goes. I would prefer, even if it means a little bit less clone trooper sets, I'm totally fine with that. But as far as the community goes, I do feel like it has gone too far, but not in the sense of like people are like, I don't know. Like I feel like. Honestly, just the helmet holes discussion, I'm so done with. Like, just, if you don't like them, that's fine. And if you like them, that's fine. Like, I feel like both sides have honestly been so annoying in this. And a lot of people, like, act like it's just the helmet hole side. But even the side that's like, oh, I like helmet holes and just berating everybody. Like, if you don't like them and don't want to buy them, that's fine. And you're fine to share your opinion. But that's, like, the helmet holes is what I think is kind of gotten out of hand. So, what do you think?
I think it is kind of, I guess, a neutral answer. I think it's good and bad. I think we've benefited from the clone craze heavily in the sense that Lego, now more than ever, is properly giving us the correct amount of clones and clone sets. So the ATTE, we get 5 clones. That's awesome. That's fantastic. It's amazing. I think I'm so happy with that set. Which that set's a whole entire thing. I really like it. But, previously Lego would give you 2 clones in an ATTE, which is complete BS. That's ridiculous. So I'm happy in that sense. So Lego-wise, like the product, I think it's good. I agree with you that I want to see more prequel sets, though, rather than Clone Wars sets, because the only 2 prequel sets we've really gotten recently are, like you said, the Phantom Menace set and the Obi-Wan Starfighter. And I'm kind of sick and tired of getting the same old. Like, seriously, when are we going to get the Battle of Geonosis? Or a proper Republic gunship? Or
the Zam Wessel speeder chase.
Oh my god. Alright. I'm not going to get into that right now.
Yeah. But holy cow, I
believe
want
me,
that
I could. But on a community side, I think it's honestly... Ugh. Honestly, from a community side, I hate it. There's so much more emphasis on Clone Wars sets and on prequel sets. Someone reviews the original trilogy set, and let's pretend it's a mediocre set. No one cares. It's a mediocre set, whatever. You get a mediocre Clone Wars set, oh my god. Lego doesn't like the prequels, and I personally just can't stand it. There's a certain aspect, like, to an extent, I think criticism is completely valid about a lot of that. Like, the stuff with the gunship in 2021, was it?
No, that was
2022.
Oh wait, are you talking about the UCS one?
UCS.
Okay, yeah, that's
UCS.
2021.
But also the Red Republic gunship.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of those completely valid. Most things they criticize.
Yep.
But like helmet holes is the big one.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, it's completely lunacy. It's a children's toy. It does not affect it that much. They look fine. And again, I was the same as you, Aidan. You were mentioned earlier. As a kid, I was always mad I couldn't give my Phase 2 troopers attachments. It was lame. I'm so happy that I can do that now.
Yep.
I wish that fans wouldn't give prequel / Clone Wars sets like this special treatment and put it on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my opinion. So I think overall, yes, it's negatively impacted the community.
In this sense,
strongly.
It puts it on a pedestal, but it also like means that when it's kind of bad, it is extremely bad. But when it's kind of good, it's the best set you've ever seen. Like
yeah.
And I think that's kind of what you were saying, and I agree with that. But one thing that I really like that the clone craze has done recently is customizers. I have loved the custom clones we've been getting from customizers, and I think they're so cool. And I think the community demand is the reason we are getting the quality that we are getting now. So I think in that sense, I'm actually I think it's a net positive. If I had to answer the question in like one sentence, I think it's a net positive. I think there is some drawbacks, and if people would just let people not like something and let people like something, I think we'd be fine. But
hey, thanks for sending in the question. If anyone else has a question, please, like I said, comment in on the YouTube video, DM the Instagram account, or there will be a story post eventually that will let you send in your questions. So thank you, 10 under 10, for that question. Well, I'm pretty sure that that just about wraps up everything we had to talk about today. Thank you for listening to episode 2 of Where Are My Studs. If you want to help out the podcast, which you should, please leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It helps out a ton, and it's not that hard, so we'd really appreciate that. I don't believe we're actually going to have a podcast this following week because Aidan is abandoning me.
woo.
But when we return, we're hopefully going to have a guest. Hopefully, we're going to start doing some guest episodes. Now, rest assured, me and Aidan will be back just by ourselves at some point to complain about Lego. But we wanna have some fresh blood, talk to some new people, get some new opinions. But thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.